you and I love the Dolphins like crazy. Okay, I'll tell you. There's no pro team in town I love more than the Dolphins, and I'm sure whenever I was on the Heat beat, they knew my passion was Dolphins more than the Heat, and I love basketball. It's my second favorite sport, and I love the Heat and love the Marlins, even though I don't really pay attention to them because until they're really committed, they're not going to get my attention. I love the Panthers, right? All these teams, InterMiami, everybody, Canes, you name it. Fort Lauderdale United, doesn't matter. NSU Sharks. I'm a local fan of all the teams in town, and we all want to see them win, and we all want to see them have success. But it's funny how sometimes you forget how you build teams, and you build teams. Teams are built. They're built through adversity. They're built through experiences together, but legitimate experiences. You know, when you're the Dolphins and you have a hell of a season and then you lose the Super Bowl and you're like, oh shit, this isn't going to happen to us. We're going to come back and win it. And that's kind of where the character comes from. When you're the Panthers and you're nowhere and you start to make the playoffs and then you make the playoffs again and you have the best record in the league and then you get to the Stanley Cup Finals and you lose and then you come back to the playoffs again and then you win it. When you're the Miami Heat and you're Shaq and Wade and you're trying to win and you suffer injuries and you come up short and then the following year you come up and you win, that's kind of where that comes from. That's how you build championship. You either go through several seasons of building it up like the Panthers did, or you're a great team like the Heat that was brought together, and then all of a sudden you had great potential because you had great talent, but you hadn't become a great team yet. In that first year, you weren't, right? Because a lesser Dallas team beat you because they were probably the better team than you were, right? And it's it's one of those things that you can't get away from it. You just can't. And I see it right now with the University of Miami football team. If you kind of look at it slowly but surely, they're winning more games. Now, they're not winning the important games yet, and it's certainly not enough of them. Okay. That's kind of their next step. And maybe that's what this year is about, that you start to actually beat some of the bigger teams on your schedule. Maybe this is the season that you get to the ACC championship game. Maybe you can even win it. Maybe you can get even into the playoffs. And that alone in itself becomes another step and another building block that you keep putting on top in order to build that foundation to get to a championship. And I say this because, I saw a post yesterday, and I get the post and I totally understand it and all that, but it's just not real. Jordan Brooks, when the Dolphins are now on an 11-day road trip for practices and games with the Bears and the Lions, and he wasn't a big fan of it until Mike McDaniel explained to him last night that staying out on the road is to build camaraderie. And he goes, number one is that bond, that chemistry. Problem is that doesn't come from a couple of preseason practices, and there's no adversity there. Nobody's tackling. There's no game on the line. And that's my point. And the Dolphins, they have a revolving door of talent every year. It's not the same group of individuals. See, a lot of the Canes players, we got Manny coming up now. A lot of the Canes players that were here last year are still here and kind of went through that experience. And they're kind of part of that building block that's going on right now where they're actually winning more games. The next step is winning those big games, right? And when you saw the Panthers, it was the same players. And then they started adding a couple different guys, but kind of the same players that were getting into the playoffs, then got to the playoffs and had the best record in the league, and then got to the finals and failed, and then came back. But for a couple of years, it's the same foundation, learning and getting there. That's how you build camaraderie. You build camaraderie in those moments of failure, in those moments where you had the tough games, you overcame all of that. That's what the Dolphins have lacked for decades now. That's why they've never been able to build this, because it's a whole new set of players. It's a whole new group of players every couple of years. It's a whole new coaching staff. And until you're able to get some stability, keep the same players. Keep a core of players that can go and experience successes and failures together. That's really the only way you build true camaraderie. It doesn't happen in some bullshit preseason game that you're going out to Chicago and you're going to go have a steak or some shit like that. No, it doesn't, dude. It happens in week 14 when you win a game that the goddamn season is on the line, and 3 or 4 guys found a way to make an amazing play to turn everything around and win the division or whatever the hell it is. Those are the moments that you start to really believe in each other. And then that's what carries on into the next season, into the next experience. And that's how you build true camaraderie. And that's why we've seen the teams that have succeeded, even the Dolphins 50 years ago. It took the failure of the first Super Bowl, okay? It took Shula getting here and kind of establishing all of that to kind of get over the hump. That's kind of the way it goes. That's the way real camaraderie is built. And so when I hear this crap, and again, this is all fantasy bullshit from this coach, that, everything's going to be all right and everything is rainbows and unicorns. And I'm sorry. So I hate to throw cold water on Jordan Brooks and reporters that are having fun with this. And I get it. It's a piece that it'll get fans going and they'll get talking about it, but it's silliness. The steel becomes the steel through the fire, dude. Okay? There ain't no fire going on in the preseason.